Hello, and welcome to episode number 7 of the series covering my development of a Python video game engine. When we left off last time, I set a couple of goals that I wanted to have ready for this time. One of those was radio buttons, another is checkboxes, and I also mentioned scrollable content and text rendering. I do have the radio buttons done, I have the checkboxes done, and I have most of the basic text rendering done as well. I did not get a chance to start on the scrollable scroll bar content yet, but that'll be one of the next things that I do. Text rendering, pretty basic at this point. You can set position, height, width, and you can set the text color and what font it uses. Right now I'm basically forcing it to use fonts directly from font files rather than system fonts. I don't want it to have any sort of dependency on what fonts are available on the system itself, so you will just provide the font file directly to the engine. Right now I've got the fonts in a folder called Client UI Fonts, and then you can load any font you want from there. One limitation of the text rendering as of right now is that it's actually ignoring the width. So if you had a text control that was 100 pixels wide and you had 120 pixels worth of text, it's actually ignoring that boundary and continuing out past the 100 pixel mark. So that's a pretty significant problem that I'll have to work on fixing for next time. I'm using mostly Piglet's built-in font rendering, so I may have to write my own font rendering routine, and that's okay, but it wasn't what I'd planned on doing originally, so I didn't want to wait to change all that before making the video. You see on the left hand side here we have some radio buttons, and a couple of people had asked me in conversation exactly what a radio button was, and then I showed them the image, and they knew they had seen them before, they just didn't know what they were called. They're called radio buttons as a comparison to old-time radio knobs that you might have found especially in automobiles on old-time radios. So you can read the Wikipedia article on that to find out more. But basically the difference between radio buttons and checkboxes is that radio buttons are typically assigned to groups, allowing you to only select one option from that group. So they'd be good for things like multiple choice questions, where someone asks a question and then you have A, B, C, D as your choices, and you can only choose one of them. So you see that works. I click A, that selects the first one, and then as I select each one down the list, it makes it so that none of the others are selected. So that works pretty well. Just like buttons, the radio button controls are able to execute commands when clicked, so that'll be pretty useful, I think. Alright, checkboxes. Checkboxes allow you to select as many options as you like, so I can select all 4 of these if I want, or none, or just one. It really doesn't matter. Checkboxes let you select whatever you want. And you see that both checkboxes and radio buttons come with their own text, as do the buttons now. The buttons now have text, and the window has title text as well. So that's pretty cool. That covers most of what I've done visually. I've done quite a bit behind the scenes. First off, in terms of variables or properties that are available for every GUI control, before it was limited to position and extent in terms of where the GUI control is located and how big it is. Now I've actually made it to where, in addition to position and extent, you can actually refer to the individual parts of those. So position is available, but X and Y are also available separately as well. So if you only need to know the horizontal position of that GUI control, you just call GUIControl.x, and that will return its horizontal position. Y returns the vertical position. Same thing for extent. In addition to extent, now you also have width and height, and those will return the appropriate parts of extent. Probably the next large change, even larger than the variable changes, is the addition of Gui Profiles. Gui Profiles allow you to define reusable styles for particular types of GUI controls. So, say I wanted to have 3 different kinds of windows in my game, and I didn't want to have to bother with applying every setting that each of those windows needs manually. I would create 3 GUI profiles and set all the settings up there, and so I could set up window profile A, window profile B, window profile C, and then whenever I'm creating one of those windows, I just apply that profile to it, and that the GUI profile class takes care of applying all the individual properties inside. So that's very cool. Second, I've implemented a class called GUI Object, and the GUI Object class is the primary means of creating GUI controls, creating instances of GUI controls for use in game in a way that's very easy to read, especially by non-programmers. The manual way that I was using before, worked just as well, but not very easy to read. So these are going to make, between the GUI profile and the GUI object classes, they're going to make creating and modifying instances of GUI objects much more easy to read, much more easy to edit. So they should work very well. One limitation of the GUI object class so far is that it does not support parent-child relationships. So there's no way to do in a pretty way, in an easily readable way, to show which objects go within what other objects. You still have to manually specify child.parent equals parent. That's the manual code-based way to assign a parent to a GUI control. But I plan on writing a parser that will read in all the GUI objects and then base the lineage, the parenting of each object based on where it's actually located in the lineup. If it's indented, if you've got a GUI window object and then you indent a little bit before the end of it and you start a new object, the parser should be able to determine that that new object goes inside of the window. And so you can read a saved GUI from top to bottom, and based on position and indentation, easily be able to tell which objects are within what other objects. Let's see. That pretty much covers everything that I had to say, I believe. I do have separate restore images for the windows now. I may have mentioned that in the last video, I'm not sure. So that works out pretty well. The next things on the agenda are to first fix that text rendering issue, second to do scrollable content, and then I'll probably start developing a standalone application for creating and editing GUIs. If you're familiar with the Torque game engine, a lot of you will know that it comes with a GUI editor that you can run in-game. I plan on having something very similar, but it will be a standalone application that will not be part of the game. I suppose you could make it part of your game if you wanted to, but I prefer that it be used as a standalone application, completely separate from the game. So that'll be the next couple things I'll do. Audio is still looming there on the horizon. That's the next thing I want to get to, but I really want to wrap up, make sure GUIs are as complete as they can be at this stage in the game. Well, I guess that's all that I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time. Alright, bye.